Hey everyone, been struggling to make videos recently. I've had a few ideas that I've managed to put a few things down for, but just real weight in my mind for how I've been structuring things and trying to make changes, but not really knowing where to go with what. So feels like everything at the moment, just everything needs a new sense of direction, new sense of purposing. Um, been throwing a lot of things out, so finding a lot of things that no longer serving us, removing them. Just trying to remove everything that doesn't belong still, which is easy enough to do when it's your own places of residence, but it's quite difficult when it comes to knowing what does and doesn't belong in videos. So yeah, for January, there's definitely going to be some big restructuring of how things are done. Not entirely sure what yet, but I'd definitely like to try and get more shape to the structure that makes logical sense, chronological sense, like figuring out how to manifest that is a bit of a challenge, but that is something that I've got interest in doing. Just gotta be able to put the time in. I think I'll have a bit more time once I've finished straightening out the place, getting rid of a lot more things that are just clutter, more and more things in your way that you don't need. Since coming back to the food, been incredibly low on energy. Like, not been eating much. I ate quite a lot in the first few days, but I have since reduced down to about eating twice a day. I've not had any major problems come up on my hand where I've been eating things. I have had sulfury burps come up if I eat peanut butter and dates together. So I found that that's a combination of food that just doesn't seem to work. It's like your stomach doesn't know how to digest it, so it just sends in the troops that come out with a byproduct of sulfuric acid or sulfuric fumes, which just doesn't taste or feel great. So apart from that, things seem to be going okay. I had oats and bananas, so like a banana porridge the other day that tasted nice. It was with whole grain oats, organic ones, and there's no repercussions for having sweet oats, which was causing a bit of heartburn when I was having them for work because I was mixing it with dried fruits. So I know that I can't mix the acidity of the dried fruits with the starch, I guess, of the oats. Yeah, no major reveals with the food apart from certain things don't mix. Certain things that you would imagine do mix, as they taste good together. When they reach your stomach, it's a different story. It's about how your body manages to break things down. I was aware of this because of when they talk about eating burgers and chips, and even the burger bun. In order to digest the chips or the bun, you need to release an enzyme. I forget what the enzyme's called now. It was an enzyme that's used to break down starch, so some kind of starchiase. I can't think of what the word would be, but it's something that gets destroyed in an acidic environment. So if you need a stronger hydrochloric acid to be able to break down something like meat or fruit, there's no point in mixing it with starch because it will cause issues in trying to digest all of it at once. I found having an avocado bagel with uh, sun-dried tomatoes in it can give you heartburn. Having sun-dried tomato as a sushi topping at a place that we went to can give heartburn because the acidity in the sun-dried tomato doesn't mix well with the rice or the rest of the food. Thing with avocados, they've got a high fat content, so it doesn't mix too well with the high acid content. Though you can add avocados to smoothies. It's just about being able to work out what your body can handle and what it can't. A lot of the times, it's just safer not to mix the food. If you can enjoy it on its own as a mono food meal, it's definitely the healthier way. It's the easiest way for your body to break it down. But everything I've been doing recently has been physical based. It's all been lower chakra based. But it's returned to the lower chakra with a new attitude of things need to get done. Things need organization because can't be living like this forever. Things need to have structure. I'm an Aries. We don't know about structure. We know about starting things and then walking off and leaving them unfinished. You may have seen us in workplaces. It's something that a good song for Aries is that got to be starting something, got to be starting something. Because we always have, always got to be starting things. And then when it comes to trying to see them through, it's a bit of a handicap. For me, I often end up having days off and then coming back. Even on my Duolingo, I've got a 200 and something day streak on there. A bunch of those days are just where they've frozen the streak because I didn't log in. Like, for me, trying to do something every day is a challenge. Usually I manage to catch it almost every day, but never perfect. The inconsistency has just been there since the beginning. I need the structure, which is Capricorn's realm. So you get Aries and Capricorn, usually always button heads, always after the number one spot. As you got the Aries being the sheep, the Capricorn being the goat, both of them mountain climbers. They like to climb the mountain. The goat is very good at climbing from the bottom in the 6 o'clock position up to the 9 o'clock position, which is where Aries starts. Aries is good at climbing from the 9 o'clock position up towards the 12 o'clock position. The Aries is the first zodiac animal. The Capricorn is the 10th, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So they're battling for the number one spot. The year starts in December, as in at the end of December, the start of January. So it would be in Capricorn, but the astrological year starts in March in Aries. So again, they're battling for the number one spot. The lamb and the goat, I believe, have appeared in scriptures where they parallel each other or reflect each other. It's been a lot of links. I should do a full video on that at some point. Just look into all of the different reasons of which Aries and Capricorn battle for number one spots. Noticed it when I have met people in real life. It's a guy that was my boss. We argued about just about everything to do with the way that fencing should be done. I had 15 years experience on him. He'd only been doing it for 5 years. And the way he talked to customers was atrocious. Communication was not his strongest point. Telling us in front of his customer's wife, who turned out to be a friend of his, "Oh, come on, boys, let's leave. She don't know what the she talking about." Oh, wow, he was gonna say that in front of a customer, like really. But in terms of other things he had in the firm, like time structure. That was like his department. He'd get very agitated if the jobs would carry on past a certain time, even though it was us there that were working late to do it. It was about the structure of the time that would be the main focal point, which is one of the reasons that Capricorn are very good at building themselves up, especially from the bottom. They're very good with time management. They're very good at production. If you go to any construction place, you will probably find a couple of Capricorns there. The guy that threw my stuff in the skip or commanded that it be done at the last place I worked at never actually found out when his birthday is, but his face was screaming Capricorn. He had a very prominent skull, and Capricorn rules the bones, and Saturn rules the bones even. He is very much the stern father figure. That kind of, they tell you kids that they better not leave a mess or all their toys are going to be gathered up and thrown in the bin. That kind of a man. Each to their own. There's just people that I don't gel with. I don't like their way of managing things. I always just like to put as much effort into something as I can and get as good a job I can out of it. Time management, not so much a concern, but it is something that I recognize as one of the three signs that doesn't really show up so much because they're the furthest away from my sun sign in the linear fashion. The amount that I could achieve if I was able to start implementing time management a lot more, I think that would be a nice step forward. And how I manage to manage myself, not have things running over certain times. Recently, it's been a placement of energy management. I've not even been getting out to the gym, not even been doing basic things, just been trying to work on the problem, get rid of everything that doesn't need to be here. Still been active, but very hard to be productive. So I think that being able to manage it by having specific times that I need to wake up for and start doing things at, I'll just have to be seeing it as breaking down all of the boundaries so that I have no restraints, and then placing up my own boundaries in place of the ones that were removed. That's a much more defined area of residence, place that I can operate with a lot less things that don't need to be there. That I think would be the best way moving forward. What that's going to look like, no idea yet. It's probably not going to be a smooth ride to get there, but it'll definitely be worth it in the end. So yeah, everything seems to be rooted at the moment. Like Capricorn is the ground sign of winter, and it's, I guess, a time of year where you would be looking at what no longer serves you, looking at getting rid of things. It's not quite the end of the year. If you were to look at um, the sun as moving in a sine wave fashion, the reason it starts with Aries is because Aries is the equator, it's the center. Aries sits at the 9 o'clock position. The sun would go through Aries up to Tropic of Cancer, down to Libra, down to the Tropic of Capricorn. So in the Tropic of Capricorn, you have the winter solstice, which is where the sun dies for 3 days. Because if you're watching every morning where the sun rises, for 3 days it won't move. It'll be still in the sky. It looked like, is the sun dead? Is he moving? It's the death of the sun. But then 3 days later, he's resurrected, so you get the sun will start moving again. And that's considered a good reason to have the start of the year being around that date, even though it would be a few days later, as the new year is about 15 days or no, 10 days after the winter solstice. But I think if you manage to catch it as it's at the halfway point, that's where a sine wave starts. It would go from the center point that it returns to, it goes up, then mid, then down, then mid. So if you keep it at the midpoint, the start would be as it starts rising. The start of the year would be as things start to bloom and blossom out of the ground. Things start growing, new life. And you see new life everywhere. That indicates that the new year has begun. The calendars we use are just chosen. There's not really a right answer. You could follow two different calendars there, get more or less the same results. Time it gets confusing is that you have like a template of 12 different energy states of the sun, and they're overlaid on top of stars and constellations that don't fit the degrees that have been allocated for the 12 different equal stages of the sun's movement. So it's done with 360 degrees instead of 365 days. And you have the equal split of about 30 days into each. This has been altered about because of the leap year in order to try and make things balance. But the guideline was still an even split of 360. And trying to put within that both the lunar and solar calendar. So the solar, which is 364.25 days or something, the lunar is something like 28 days in a month. So it gets complicated quickly when you're trying to put them all into one calendar that works. All of the calendars need some level of tweaking or observation. But you never used to have calendars back in the early days. You'd have had animals wandering around paying homage to the different stars and things that you could see in the sky that were obvious. And the most obvious for a start of the year would be walking around in springtime, seeing things coming back to life and realizing that this is the new year. This is our hero triumphantly returns and brings us forth another summer, another period of time in which we can gather crops, gather food for the winter. So this period of time from here up until February, I consider is still the end of the year. It's still where you're meant to be purging, where you're meant to be deciding what no longer has place inside your being or inside your residence. And I think for me, it will be a continuation of that onward as well. As you get Lent, which turns up in February, which is as the days start lengthening and getting longer. You have 46 days over that period, not to mention the holy month of Ramadan falling just before, which would be following the lunar calendar. These are great times to also purge things out of your system. And if you celebrate the holy month, to fill yourself full of Iman, which is like a radiance of belief that makes you feel really good in your being, both inside and outside. It's that sense of peace and calm that you get, especially for exercising the kind of patience that it takes to try and get through the day with a very dry throat. Be nice to everyone. Try not to be gossiping about people behind their backs or singing along to things on the radio that pull you in a different direction. It's about spending time being aligned with a mission. It's a mission between you and God. It's not something that needs to be shouted from the rooftops. I'm not sure if I'll be doing daily updates on it or just doing it, but likely I'll be talking about my day still. By then, who knows what the restructuring could be. Definitely want to put more videos with actual content rather than just doing the talks like this. I think I'm going to try and save talks like this for live streaming. Once it hits January, I think that'd be the better way of doing things. Try and bring the quality up in the videos. That was the point of doing them every day. Now it's gotten to the point when it doesn't feel like there's any progression being made. I feel like I'm getting a little bit better at talking. That's about it. So happy for that. Happy for what I have learned. Would still like to provide a better service. So that's where I'm at the moment. Sorry I haven't been around. Definitely try and put some more bits out. And at the same time, try and clean up my act. Get rid of more stuff that doesn't need to be here. So with that, thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more.